All right, let's talk about eczema. It's one of those skin conditions that's just so common and honestly so frustrating. So today, we're going to break it all down. Whether you're someone who lives with it or maybe you're a clinician studying for your exams, we're going to give you a really simple but powerful framework to get a handle on it. So let's kick things off with a big question. Why? Why is our skin, our body's largest organ, so vulnerable to this cycle of itching and inflammation that can feel, well, pretty relentless sometimes?
And the answer, it isn't just about a simple rash on the surface. At its very core, eczema is a problem with the skin's architecture. It really does all start with a broken or impaired skin barrier.
Okay, so let's get the official definition on the table. Eczema, or atopic dermatitis, is a chronic, relapsing, inflammatory skin disorder. But the most important part of that whole sentence is impaired skin barrier. Think of it like this. The skin becomes leaky. It can't hold moisture in, and it lets irritants get in. And that is what kicks off all the trouble. The dryness, the inflammation, the itch, and why it can get infected more easily. So here's our game plan. We've just touched on the what. Now we're diving straight into how to manage it with a super useful tool called the ABC rule. We're going to break down each letter, A, B, and C, and then we'll wrap up by talking about the signs that tell you it's time to get some more specialized help. First up, A, avoid common triggers. This is step 1. It's all about playing defense. It means figuring out what's annoying that already vulnerable skin and getting it out of the picture before a flare-up can even start. So, what exactly are we trying to avoid here? Well, right at the top of the list, soaps, and pretty much anything that foams or lathers, because they just strip the skin of all its natural protective oils. Then you've got fragrances, cigarette smoke, and even scratchy clothing like wool. Sometimes just keeping the environment from getting too hot and sweaty can make a huge difference. Okay, let's move on to B, build your skin barrier. And I have to say, this is the big one. It's the absolute non-negotiable foundation of any good eczema treatment plan. We are talking about slathering on bland moisturizers, what we call emollients. And to give you a sense of the sheer scale we're talking about, just look at this number. 500 grams. That's a huge tub. That could be how much an adult with moderate to severe eczema needs every single week. So we're not talking about a little dab here and there. This is a core part of the therapy. It needs to be prescribed and used in serious quantities. Now, this is a great way to think about it. The emollients ladder. It shows the whole range of options from light lotions all the way up to the really greasy, but also most effective ointments. But you know what the most important takeaway here is? Patient choice. The best moisturizer in the world is useless if it stays in the pot. The best one is the one you'll actually use day in and day out. So it's not just what you use, it's how you use it. You've got to be applying it at least 2 to 3 times a day, and this is crucial, even when the skin looks perfectly fine. Use loads of it. And if it's in a tub, please don't just stick your fingers in there. Use a clean spoon or a spatula. Gently stroke it on in the direction your hair grows, and really important, use it instead of soap when you wash. And that brings us to C, control the inflammation. So this is our plan of attack for when the eczema flares up anyway. This is when we need to bring in the topical steroids to really calm down that redness, that swelling, and most of all, that itch. But wait, before we go any further, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. There is, and I'm quoting here, an unjustified topical steroid phobia. People are scared of them, but the research is really solid on this. When you use them correctly, these treatments are safe and incredibly effective for managing eczema long term. For clinicians, this is the guiding principle, the topical steroid ladder. It's basically about matching the strength of the steroid to the body part and the severity of the flare. It's about using the right tool for the right job. You wouldn't use the strongest steroid on the delicate skin of the face, for example. You start low and go slow, stepping up only if you need to. Now this is one of the most practical and useful tools for both doctors and patients. It's called the fingertip unit, or FTU. It takes all the guesswork out of how much cream to apply. 1 unit is just the amount you can squeeze from the tip of your finger to the first crease. And that chart tells you exactly how many of those units you need for different parts of the body. Simple, effective, brilliant. The modern way of thinking about this isn't just about putting out fires when they happen. It's about preventing them. That's where this step up, step down idea comes in. During a flare, yeah, you use the steroid every day to get things under control. But once the skin is calm, you don't just stop. You step down to a maintenance plan, maybe using it just a couple of times a week on those trouble spots. This approach can dramatically cut down on future flares. Now, the ABC framework is fantastic, but it's really important to know when it might not be enough. Both patients and doctors need to be able to spot the signs that it's time to call in a specialist, like a dermatologist, for some extra help. So for the clinicians watching, these are your key red flags. If you're not 100% sure it's eczema, if it's just not getting better with the right treatment, or if it's really severe, it's time to refer. Definitely refer if you suspect a secondary infection, bacterial or viral. And never forget the impact on a person's life. If their quality of life is taking a major hit, that alone is a perfectly good reason to get a specialist opinion. And that first point, diagnostic uncertainty, is so important. Because not all eczema looks the same. I mean, look at this. This is discoid eczema. It shows up as these really distinct, round, coin-shaped patches. It's itchy and can easily be mistaken for something else, like a fungal infection. And here's another type, totally different again. This is stasis eczema, sometimes called varicose eczema. You see this on the lower legs, and it's tied directly to problems with blood circulation in the veins. So the treatment has to tackle the circulation issue, not just the skin. And one more, just to really drive the point home, this is palmoliax eczema. It's known for these tiny, intensely itchy blisters that pop up on the hands and feet. Seeing all this variety makes it crystal clear why a one-size-fits-all approach just doesn't work, and why getting that diagnosis right is absolutely step number one. So, we end up right back where we started. That ABC framework, it's simple, but it's so incredibly effective. It gives patients a clear game plan and gives clinicians a solid structure for treatment. So the real question it leaves us with is this. Now that we have the ABCs, how can we all work together to take eczema from being a daily battle and turn it into something that's truly manageable?